All right. I think
Two
we're
thumbs up.
I think we're recording, Mr. Valentine. I mean Mr. Vic. Ooh, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fine, my dear. Doing. It's like an old friend of mine used to say, better than most.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not that competitive, but he used to say that. So.
I'm gonna need a lot of help tonight, and this is gonna be the biggest thing that I feel like as a scribe and
Mm-hmm.
a recorder of deeds
Okay.
that I will ever do in all of my born days before I say this.
Okay.
And for anyone that doesn't know by now, of
Mm-hmm.
course, you and I have experienced this incredible telepathic phenomena together. And we decided to not speak about what we're going to talk about tonight. So I just did want to confirm that out loud as well. You have no idea what's coming.
Okay.
Is that right?
That is correct.
I didn't disclose anything to you, right?
No, you did not.
Okay. Now, I want to say as we go into this, remember when we talked about wing makers and you asked me if I had ever been down that incredible path and like the puzzle pieces and you'd go into the one room and you'd find the
Oh yeah, that was really great. I
oh,
loved it.
okay. And do you want to just give me a 5 minute, I mean,
An overview.
yeah, give me an overview of that.
Well, in my investigations of wingmakers early on, this has already been, godly, I think it has to be 8 or 9 years now. And they had their first website up. And one of the things that it had built into it, which is no longer there, I don't think, was the secret doors. They used to call it secret entrances. And so the idea was that you had to move your cursor around the screen and wait for the cursor to turn into a little finger or something, indicating that you just hit a link.
Uh-huh.
And okay, this is interesting. Well, anyway, I'm trying to remember exactly how it went, but bottom line was, I kept looking and look constantly, and then what would happen is when you would find a secret door or a secret path or whatever they called it, um, at the end there would be a question, and then once you answered that question, then you would go back and then respond and answer the question, and it went from there. So finally I got up to the very end, level 15 or whatever it was. And it took me, and it basically wound up in the secret chamber, or the chamber of self. And I'm going, yeah, this is just brilliant, because what it was really doing, in my opinion, was providing an initiation to the seeker, who was me, of course.
Yes.
And I felt that once I got to that last chamber, that I was being initiated. I was an initiate, and from there, I just, well, not a lot happened. I mean, after that, and whatever was happening on the inner world and inner planes and all that stuff. And that's another story. And so I thought that was brilliant, because it took the seeker, the person who really wanted to get acquainted with the teaching, and uh, allow that person to go through a process where, when you finish this process, and in a very subtle way, and that was the real clever part, um, bring it to a level where you really had a deeper understanding of what was going on. And that was really what it was about. And I've never seen anybody duplicate that. I was disappointed when they came up with the new website, and maybe it's back. I just haven't checked recently, but I thought it was really fascinating.
Well, what you said about the initiation of it all,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's where we should draw our focus. And then keeping in mind, I did promise you that the next time we did a show together that I would reveal the name of the person that I believed was James Mahu. Now, Joe did some digging on Google, some time back. And as that whole process began, what we realized was it was more about being the Mahu. And so when I say that, I think an easy way for people to understand this or understand this would be the movie Highlander.
Mm-hmm.
He's an immortal that he
Right.
gets a clear stream of consciousness as he goes.
Right.
Okay, so as you and I know, there is no time, and we have all these multidimensional realities and these timeline shifts that have happened with the work that is going on behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
So we know in real life this is really going on. For the average person, surely they're on a different timeline and they never see it, and that is going to play heavily into this. But there was a perfect little clip from a Walker, Texas Ranger where there's a little boy and he is the chosen one and he's with his master. And the little boy wants to know, is the water cold? They were talking about water. And he wants to know, is it cold? Tell me about the water. And so the master dumped a bucket of water on his head. And the kid's like, why'd you do that? And he's like, well, because everybody would perceive the water to be a different temperature, surely. So you have to really go through something, as we know, to even get it when you're in the middle of a phenomena.
Mm-hmm.
To know when you've stepped out of time and space into such a sacred place, and then you watch it change as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened to me.
Okay.
Now, yeah, and this has been going on 9 days.
Mm.
And so I want to back you up just a little bit and say that when this began, I had that heart brain intuitive feeling that I was somewhere where family is. That was the immediate thing I felt.
Okay.
Now, I was drawn into it, like a beautiful courtship. You see what I mean? I'm starting to go into this mystery.
Okay.
And about 10:30 at night, 3 days in, I get a very mysterious call. And I knew the names of the people inside the circle that comes up on Messenger, but I had never spoken to 2 of them.
Right.
My face was in the circle, and my dear friend Anne, who has been a godsend to me. Another wonderful person in the circle, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what they were asking us to do, because this last weekend was so pivotal, Vic. We had that comet zip by on Friday. We had an eclipse and we had a full moon. So we're at the height of the power of everything, my friend.
Right.
Okay, so the call is they would like us to light a candle and put intent on what we would do to crush what some people call the cabal. Other people would know it as the lower level of the matrix. It's not the organic place. It's the place of trickery and AI and artificial life. Just right. So anyhow, sorry, the dog's barking and
It's okay.
I just can't get to my point fast enough. Can you remind me where we were? I'm sorry.
Well, you were talking about the what do they call it? The moon and the eclipse and all these things converging and the energies being.
Right. Okay. So we get the call
Mm-hmm.
to write down the intent and to light the candle because we are at the apex point of the spiritual battle. And we've been hearing about this for months, and we know how we've been given a lot of grace and a lot of things that are terrible that were maybe planned to happen didn't happen. I mean, everything's been pretty cool. So anyhow, they were very worried about this particular night. And immediately I knew what I had to do. And so, you know, the story about the parasite I removed out of my chest and the other one I removed out of my belly.
No, I don't recall. I don't
Oh,
remember hearing about that.
okay. Well, we won't go into it. But anyhow, I did a live ceremony on Facebook and Zoom that uploaded to YouTube where I burnt that parasite.
Okay.
And I did that with the intent of every parasitic influence that has ever been on mankind would be purged and removed. Okay?
Okay. All right.
So now, after I did that is when the big action started. And one of my dear friends said I opened up a vortex. And I'm telling you, I opened up a vortex and someone stepped through. Someone that I've loved my whole life. So that's kind of what happened to me. And that's the story we're going down tonight. The reason being is because there is more than one Mahu. And as you know, there are great men that have stood up. They know this is the last hurrah. We either all go forward together or who knows what, because with the politics and the chaos and the nightmares, we are this close to civil war. And you know that idea has been played with. Okay.
Yeah, I've been actually. I was commenting about that possibility not too long ago with some friends.
Really?
Oh yeah, I sort of see the lines being drawn, and you know, it all. You know, we're in a very volatile state right now. You know, during this transition, but you know, Phyllis, you okay?
Oh, I'm fine.
Oh,
Where's
okay.
my tea?
The way I see it, and the way I how should I say, how I balance all this stuff is knowing that all that is happening is already happened. That regardless of what we think is going to happen, it already happened.
And I'm telling you, this already happened and it's real.
Okay, no, I get that it's real, and
Right.
and you believe that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that for me, you know, I just feel that the future and what may happen is not it's flexible. It can change, and we can change it to whatever we want it to be.
And I
It
agree.
takes time, you know, of course, you know, in this physical reality, because things just naturally move slow here. But we need to just constantly maintain that heart center open and maintain that feeling of love, and not allow the fear to interfere with what we're doing and how we're feeling.
This man holds the key to millions of people's hearts. So, like we talked about before, I said, hey, what if I could bring something that could heal the collective trauma while at the same time exposing every dirty, rotten system that must fall if we are to survive as organic human beings? Remember that day?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But again, I'm a big believer in the old saying that says everything is as it should be. Okay, and the reason, and I've always liked that, because things are what we're going through right now, both individually and on the macro and even the universe, has been a series of experiences and events that have taken place, but it doesn't mean that we can't jump to another timeline or any of that stuff. I know this stuff sounds a little bizarre to some folks, but I think to me, that's the ultimate challenge, to get to that state of enlightenment where you just sort of let things be. And I think the Buddha and all these folks taught that, just being detached and allowing life to unfold. And so, so therefore, where we are now as a country, as a civilization, as whatever, it's where it should be. because without the experiences that we've had up to this point, we couldn't grow. We would be limited, constantly stuck. So anyway, and that was one of the things that I was saying in my list of things that I sent you was, the no thing. You can't say God is something, because if you were to say God is something, you would limit it. And so
Right.
therefore you can't call it anything. It's just experience after experience going through whatever it is we're going through. So in a sense, you can say that God is no thing. This is something I learned back in the day when I was studying in Eckankar. But it's true, it made perfect sense to me. So in
Well,
other words, everything is as it should be. So
this has made my life's journey, what I'm getting ready to hit you with, so rewarding. And it is as it should be. But people are going to have a hard time accepting it. And when they do accept it, and their heart opens up and they feel so happy,
mm-hmm.
then they're going to have to immediately realize why this man is stepping forward at this time. This is it.
Okay, I'm curious, what it is that you're what you're talking about, but it's okay. I'm here and ready and raring, as we used to say.
Yeah, and I'm all shook up like he used to say. So I just wanted to open here on Facebook Live because it really has been a privilege and an honor to share this journey with Facebook. And like from the very go, I always believed that the higher purpose would come through for this internet. And one thing that is very interesting is this is the kind of news that will go around the world so fast that Facebook, I watched a brand new link from them where they say, you know what, we know that we need to adapt how we get our news. So we're going to keep that in mind. And then we're also going to keep in mind that it was this man that chose the appointed hour. And I was there to witness it and to see its expansion. So real quick before we leave Facebook, I love Tracy Chapman. And this says, we must live our lives always feeling, always thinking the moment has arrived. And so this moment has arrived for this person that's been in hiding for years. And so
well, I had a similar experience with a friend who he became a friend, but he considered himself to be the guru of gurus. He was a pretty evolved guy. He was the one that taught me about opening the heart center and all that. And beautiful, beautiful man. When you're around, and this guy was his consciousness was very, very evolved, and I helped him start his path, the path that he wanted to present to the world, which was called the Way of Truth. Mm-hmm. And the Way of Truth is still out there doing its thing. I don't know how many members it has, but I was there at the very, very beginning, and so I understand what you're saying. And what he had told me is that, look, he was with Eckankar for many, many years, and he felt that he was in training, and so he just spent most of his time studying in the library, just completely immersing himself. But he was able to channel. I don't like to use the word channel because they don't like to use the word, but I don't know how else to describe it. To channel, all these various masters. Yes. And, like Miller Rapp. You could read it up on his website. And so all these masters that were coming through him, they were dictating whatever it is that they felt needed to get out. And so he made a decision to write many volumes based on what the masters were dictating to him. And so, he moved on and he kept going, and I moved on, but and it was all good, so I sort of understand what you're referring to when you're saying, when you're talking about an individual, I assume, who's very evolved,
and
coming forward.
And very well known.
And he's well known.
And very misunderstood.
Well, give me the name so I can be impressed.
All right, my friend, let's do this.
All right.
I'm so excited. And then, like I said, it's just the most incredible blessing in my life, and it's given my heart wings.
That's great. Good for you.
Oh, I'm so flippin' happy I can't barely stand it. Here we go, Vic. Taking care of business. In 2002, a new album called Continued was released by an independent label featuring a performer who sounded remarkably like Elvis.
And I just got off the phone with the DNA specialist out of Arizona. He says he believes Eliza is Elvis's half-sister and that Elvis is still alive. He says the proof is there. DNA evidence doesn't lie. In the studio, Lauren Lee, Fox 13 News.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be back. It's been a long time, but I'm alive. That's right. Thank you, baby. I love you too. That's expensive, man. When you call me, when I hear you breathe, I get wings to fly. I feel that I'm alive.
Excuse me.
When you look at me,
are these photos recent?
Hey, they're not letting us live stream this on Facebook for real. I just got shut down.
Really?
They know what's coming. Let me just open this back up.
When you bless the day, I just bless away. Oh, my word is time. I'm glad that I'm alive. You set my heart on fire. Fill it with love.
Hey, look, there he is.
On clouds above.
Yeah, get your glasses on.
I couldn't get much higher. My spirit takes flight, 'cause I am alive. When you call me, when I hear you breathe, I feel that I'm alive. I'm alive. When you reach for me, then I'll be the one.
Check it out.
Through good and through trying times. And it's only begun. I can breathe for the rest of my life. When you call on me, I'm alive. Yeah, we love you. Thank you. Right on, man. Fantastic. Thank you.
Now you can see why this would freak somebody out, Mr. Vic. And of course, there are many people that feel this is a hoax. There are many people that were so heartbroken when this man theoretically left the planet. And I want to tell you something. I am actually on the channel of Elvis Presley himself. And you can find that at capital SK with a space in between it, MI. The name of the channel is Skutnik Michael. And Elvis has a few aliases too. So
Would you mind sending me or putting that in the chat so I can? So,
let me
so
see if I can do that.
I don't have a pen here, so I can go look into it.
Let me try that. Because I'm feeling a little calmer now.
Oh, good.
Yeah. That I've actually made the statement out loud. That's how it looks on the YouTube channel. Now, let me go back and share the story with you, okay? I was involved in checking it out because a couple people had shared it on Facebook that Elvis was alive, and I knew it, but I wanted to be the one to break the story. And so, I was like, okay, Vic, are we going to, do this last Friday, or are we going to wait till Tuesday? And we waited till Tuesday, and that was perfect. So I went on a journey. I'm talking about over 40 hours.
Okay.
And I'll be sharing with you what I found. But
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, when I started checking things out, it was, like I said, obvious it was family. I didn't know if it was him or maybe if it was his son, because he has 9 children other than Lisa Marie, too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things we're going to come to learn. And he, part of the fund for Graceland always went to those children. And he wound up being with them when they grew up and with Lisa Marie.
Right.
And he's been on the down low. He's the master of disguise. There's not one person in the world that has more Elvis impersonators than he does.
That's
See
true.
what I mean?
I've even tried it.
Well, and you know what? You kind of look like him. And all these nice white-haired men I love, there's a resonance. And so it was really wild to see Elvis, at 82 years old with his white hair. But anyhow, let me get back to the story, okay? Because I know people aren't even going to believe it. And I need to get to this point quick. Now, as I was watching, I saw a comment, and it said that on 1/20/17, Elvis is alive. And of course, he was at the Trump rally. You can see him in the background, and we'll be looking at videos with this.
Okay.
Okay, now the whole thing with Trump, like we all know, we needed him for a distraction, but he is not true. So,
What does that mean? He's not true.
well, we're going to go over that too, and I don't want to give anything away too quick because he still has a chance to redeem himself. Elvis knew that it would be safe to make his public appearance as long as Trump made the presidency. He knew that if Hillary made it, he didn't have a chance. He's been FBI, he's been witness protection, he knows the presidents, he knows the whole game. And so what he's waiting for is a pardon, you see, because, if he comes back and everybody has to find out he's alive, they're going to be really mad and burn his records like like that Colonel Tom that managed him, warned him. But anyhow, just hear me out. So he's alive on January 20th, 2017. We see him at the Trump rally. He's with his brother and he's with his son. The face recognition, the whole thing catches it, okay?
Okay.
Now, on January 24th, a man was found deceased under an overpass that had the DNA of Elvis Presley, and he went by the name of Jesse. Okay? Now, this was his twin brother. And see, if you're an Elvis fan, and we talked about Elvis the one time on Sophia's Emporium, where I explained to you that I believed that he had been part of that program that took advantage of him. You remember when we talked about Elvis?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So anyhow, as you know, when you work on psychic experiments, usually twins are separated. And even if you look at the school system, you have two twins start school together, and the first thing they do is separate them in classrooms because they say they're distracting to one another. This was all part of the program that would oppress and fragment. It wasn't a good thing. But anyhow, all right, so we have this thing happen, and I'm reading it, Vic, and I'm only 3 days in, and it's before I burn the parasite. You see what I mean? We are all in one moment in no time. Everything is happening. And I typed in how hard that was going to be for people to realize that all this time that he had been alive and they didn't know, only to lose him on the 24th. So I typed that in, and poof, up Elvis or SKMI or whoever you want to say he is. I'm saying the gospel truth. It's Elvis Presley. But anyhow, he shares a video which shows him and his brother together throughout their lives. And, oh, guess what? They had a triplet, too.
Mm.
So, we're unearthing big news. But why this is important, Vic, is because, like you know, we don't live in the United States of America. This isn't the republic that it started out.
I agree.
Right. And this man has been trying to come home for 30 flippin' years. And you know how I am, and you know that everybody wants to know why I do what I do and how I know what I know. Well, Elvis claimed the same thing in one of his YouTubes too. And it's like, him and I have so many tags and so many love bonds. And believe it or not, his most trusted advisor spiritually was his hairdresser.
Unbelievable. He looks good with that gray hair, by the way. I went in.
I can't wait to get my hands in it. You know, I'm serious. I'm going to be his hairdresser. I'm not even kidding you. So, we're going to meet.
Have you spoken to him directly?
Yes. He contacted me on this computer here. Like, you know, when you type, okay, like let me quit this share for a minute. Okay, here you are. Okay, so like you can see what I wrote on this one. I said, very super cool. Love the video in the middle with the Facebook name drop. Much appreciation and love. This is the next thing coming up, but you haven't seen it yet. So I'm just telling you, I was typing in there and he typed to me up here and gave me specific directions how to fix my computer, for example. And you know I couldn't do nothing with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's neither here nor there, is it? So, yes, I have been in contact with him. Yes, the stories are true. He likes to be up in the middle of the night. It's always about 3:30 in the morning or 4.
That's funny. That's funny because I'm the same way.
Well, and you know, we do our best spiritual work at that time of the evening. So
I just find myself awake and, you know, anyway, go ahead. It's interesting. Continue,
yeah,
please.
And to me, it made perfect sense that that's when he would come into contact with me. So Okay, I am so lost because, like I said, I've always loved Elvis Presley, and I've always been a fan, Vic. But you know, I was never one of those ones that would ooh and ah and faint and cry and puke and, lose their, lose their lose
Their,
their calm and their
use
cool.
their composure. Yeah.
Yeah, that word that I couldn't even remember. I mean, I'm full blown out of composure and just so happy. So I want to take you to the next video, Vic. And as you start to see these things, you gave me the list of the things that you've come to know in your reality to be real. And I would like you to bring those things in after the video because people are going to need a lot of help with coming to terms with this. Look at everything that everybody had to go through in 2016, simply finding out that Paul McCartney really wasn't Paul McCartney. And, the whole Billy Shears thing came out. And
Yep.
it's really hard on people when you find out somebody that you love or have a relationship with isn't who they say they are.
Yep. That's what they call a paradigm shift. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Well, exactly. And that's why I say this is an entirely different potentiality. This is a different timeline. And I believe that, like I said, he's stepping forward because he knows what's about to hit because he's got all the background knowledge. And what's really interesting about this, Vic, before I play this video, let me tell you this, just to blow your mind. When I typed that in, and when he typed to me on day 3 of the journey, after that happened, he did one of those massive downloads on his channel. If you go to his channel now, he has over 975 videos. And when I started this journey, I wanted to find out whose channel this is. And you know how I am. And I went on a mission. So what I did is I took all the videos, Vic, and you know me, Susie Organized. This is what I've been doing for like 40 hours of my life when I'm not doing the rest. Elvis loaded, like I said, he did a major dump, over 900, pushing 1,000 videos, and he keeps loading them up. He's got Western movies for you and all sorts of cool stuff. It's the Presley archives. It's all his. So we've got the who's who, which will list all the players because, of course, the videos that he makes all these videos too, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like me. So see, some people think I'm full of myself because I don't put other people's videos up and I'm always working on my own. This man's been doing this behind the scenes for years to prove his case. No different than, I started journaling my experience to document and prove my case. Because when people tell you you're not you or you're full of shit, people take offense to that. And Elvis is not happy about it. He'd like everyone to open their hearts and be able to believe and look at the evidence and then make their decision instead of having that brick hit them upside the head and their reality shatters and crumbles. Elvis has been a preacher man too, Mr. Vic. He's been preaching. And you know that he was always spiritual. And yes, when he was all hopped up on alcohol and booze, everybody thought that pills were fine because they were legal and the doctors were handing them to him. So, he had that moment in his life. He had a spiritual moment in his life. Then he went into a big meditative time. Then he went into preaching. And the whole time he's been singing. So he's gonna share his life with us. And it takes a lot of courage. So this one is Disclose You. Every dirty little deal done dirt cheap. And Vic, there's pages. And it's everything. You would not believe what this man knows. I also have one called What the Fuck and Trump That. So we have 7 categories. I forgot one. Let me read this one to you because it's very important and it has a lot to do with the heart virtues. We have Mr. Comedy because Elvis had a great sense of humor, and I've liked playing with Elvis because he's not cruel. I mean, he keeps it coming, and he doesn't leave me like high and dry. Like some people when they play with me, they leave and they go off for a few weeks,
Yeah.
and I have a hard time with that. We also have Children of the Kingdom, which would be his love for his children, his grandchildren, and animals. 975 videos, Vic, and counting. Okay, oops, wrong thing. Don't hit that. Cancel that. Share screen. Go to video. Keep the people happy. We're going to video number 26, Vic.
Okay.
Known for its perfect storm
This is an
of
ad.
tiny bubbles.
Yeah, I've been seeing them all over the place on YouTube.
Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
Alive.
Absolutely, I would testify to anything wrong.
The man who calls himself Jesse after Elvis's deceased twin brother was Dr. Hinton's patient, and his DNA matches both sides of the Elvis family tree.
You can't fake the DNA.
We asked forensic scientist Tony Tambasco, who handled the original DNA testing for us.
It does look like wow.
Pathologist Dr. Harold Sexton had handled 2 liver biopsies for Elvis. When he was tested for hepatitis, the doctor agreed to release them for DNA testing.
I got a different DNA type from the 1975 biopsy sample and the autopsy specimen.
Elvis's liver tissue is different than Elvis's autopsy tissue. The doctor arrived at a startling conclusion.
I can't argue with science. Elvis was not in the cast.
Look at
They
that
took their
beautiful man.
evidence to Memphis and tried to get the case reopened. Both the local police and Tennessee Attorney General's office refused. Lisa Marie also respectfully refused our request for DNA.
Elvis was the subject of numerous death threats. The strong possibility exists he may very well be a part of the witness protection program.
In order to protect himself and his family from a criminal organization called the Fraternity, Elvis Presley arranged things to look as if he had died. He accomplished this with the help of the Department of Justice by somehow planting either a wax collection. Elvis's cousin, Gene Smith, felt he had to personally say goodbye.
When we did the body for the last time, I stood there quite a while looking at it. I didn't say it was him.
Then, deliberately misspelling his middle name, Elvis arranged for his coffin to be placed one space over from where he really planned to be interred.
I'm talking about him, and he's not here to defend himself. And that's how Elvis feels about this situation. I will see him again. I'm going to get an appointment. If there's any way, and Elvis never had a doubt, we cared for him. I think this right here, if he's able to, not this, the visualize it or see it. He doubts nothing. We did what we had to do for his sake. The procession of the people coming through the house was just unbelievable. These people were crying, they were fainting. It was tough, but we did it. And I think Elvis was pretty proud of the way it was handled. And I'll be loyal to him, so I died.
Joe Esposito.
Okay.
August 15th, United States Attorney Michael Cody advised the FBI that his office was ready to go before the grand jury with the Operation Fountain Pen case. August 16th, Elvis Presley is reported dead at Graceland.
Attorney William Bradley represents EPE. He says the case is very upsetting to the family. And as for Elvis being alive,
our position is that that's just nonsense.
One of the first questions people ask is, what would he be doing now, or what would his life be? And I think, Elvis would always be a part of music, no matter what. I mean, it was in his blood. I think that maybe he'd be going into gospel.
See, he looks like you a little bit.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw the image. I said,
A little bit. He loved to have, he loved to teach and loved the Bible.
Everybody in this world just lives their life.
This is his church.
As they see it. To many people who think they have happiness, what they think is whatever they're doing, what they have is being good to them. It turns around and bites them. It turns around and devours them and destroys them. It can destroy their lives. And many people's lives have been destroyed by the very things that they pursue, the very things that they indulge themselves in. So God comes in when He intervenes, and He brings this new life in Christ to man.
I think he thought he possibly had a religious calling, that all this was going to
I think that too, don't you, Mr. Vick?
some type of...
not sure I understood. What is it?
I'm not going to concern myself
My calling.
with what I was and what I had before. God knows who we are, and our lives matter to Him. So therefore, He says, live.
Very interesting.
Is Carmen crying yet?
No, Carmen's in another room, in the living room. I'm in the back.
What a difference it makes. And that's what it is with the Lord. To find Him, to realize He's worth everything. He's worth our life. He's worth all that we have. We're willing to give all that we have. But all He asks of man is that they say yes to Him and know His word. No to the life they knew before.
We are not of this world.
Yes to the new life that lies before.
We're in it.
So when you find the Lord, you find out that's the best way to go. Amen. That's really the best way to go. So you don't want to go down those other paths. You don't want to go back to the old life.
Hey, Vic, for real, I know this sounds churchy and preachy and everything.
Yeah.
But I gotta say this, okay? I'm really good friends with Pastor Rep, my high school teacher, and we've been friends forever.
Right.
I told him I got a new preacher man and I'm going to church.
Good for you.
I know, and you know that I don't attend dogmatic churches. So I just want you to keep in mind, this is an 82-year-old man that is preaching to people of his generation. And he's in Arkansas on this point, okay?
Okay.
Now, back in the day, Vic, after he had to fake his death, this is the book he gave out to the world called The Imperishable Life.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes over the I am concept. So I do want to disclose at this point and bring it to your attention.
Well, let me just say that
Christ in him, he is Christed. I just want you to know that before you go ahead and tell me what you want to tell me.
Oh, I was just going to say that, I've had dream experiences with Elvis going back many years. And one of them, he didn't want to accept that in the dream. And I don't know if it was because, it didn't really jive with this, but in the dream, he didn't want to accept the fact that he was dead in my dream with him.
Yeah, because he never was. Praise God.
He never accepted, and I kept thinking, and after I had that dream, I went, interesting. Anyway, I've always had an affinity towards his voice and his sound, and I always enjoy singing specifically. And I used to sing. What is it? I think it's called the trilogy. The one where he sings. I wish I was in the land of cotton old times, and then he goes from there, and it's probably in my opinion, it's probably his most, in my opinion, his most famous talent. You know, I think he really showed his talent in that song. But very hard to imitate that song. But anyway.
And my favorite song, well, I mean, I have a million favorite songs, but when he sings I Did It My Way, that was the song we sang at our 8th grade graduation.
Yeah, the song I'm trying to think of is called The American Trilogy. American
Okay.
Trilogy. Fantastic.
Well, you're going to hear Mr. Presley sing at full capacity this evening, and it's such a treasure. And, you know, there was a couple of dipshits, don't get me wrong, that said, well, his voice doesn't sound exactly like it used to.
Anyway.
Oh, well, excuse you, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but,
you should just ignore that stuff.
Oh, and you know,
Silly.
I did. But like Elvis told these people, it was his design and his plan that it would not be disclosed until he said. His choice. So like I was telling you, his channel is 6 years old, Vic, but he didn't load anything up on himself in English until 10 months ago. And all that information I showed you is, I've tracked it down to the last 2 months. So I'm still working on this. And of course, I want to give it to him as a love offering. He put it up just like I did in a timeline to tell his story the way he wanted. And then when I got there and the activation happened, he opened these floodgates and all this stuff came out and I got to watch and of course be overwhelmed. But I'm going to take you back to church now. And I'm really glad that you love Elvis because
I thought he was a pretty cool guy.
Vic, he's Superman. No shit. That's who they made the cartoon after. But let's get back to Preacher Man. And I want you to realize that when he preaches, he goes by the name of Bob Joyce. He doesn't preach under the name of Elvis Presley, of course, because everybody thought he was deceased.
Right.
Right. And there's so many of them. You know the game where you hide the real one, like under the cup, you know, that cup game with the marble or whatever it is? I'm not a game player, you know.
Yeah, neither am I.
Right, but there's so many Elvis impersonators and so many fans that love him, and they have kept this man shielded. And here he comes. All right, let's get back to it.
That you lived before. Believe you me, the old life is quickly full of headaches. Believe you me, I know what it means to go out in the world without trying to think. It's nothing worth diving around in. You know, and I found out that no matter how far you go or what you dabble in, the Lord's not going to let you go. This heart of mine is filled. My mind. You can have all this world. Give me Jesus. This is a blessing. This is a blessing.
There's his dad.
Amen.
Vernon.
Forget about Elvis. I want to see Jesus. You know, forget about all these other people. I want to see Jesus. Somebody says, why are you doing what you're doing?
Here.
And I say, look at Jesus. I'm not his.
Why are you doing what you doing?
He's the one that's had the influence in my life. My life, even though it may be small as it may be, as insignificant as it may be in this world, because every one of us is born as nothing in this world. We are nobody in this world. But to God, and that's what's important. Doesn't matter about the world. What matters is God. God knows the man. And our lives matter to him. So therefore he says, live.
It's lonely at the top. You hear that? It's a cliche. But
see, everything start out in French.
For him, it was very
I'll tell you
true.
why
So
after this.
the never-ending spiritual quest.
It's not being accepted by the world that makes everything right. It's not being, being successful in the world that makes everything beautiful in life, that makes you happy, that gives you joy, that brings peace in your heart and life, that's satisfaction when people don't realize.
If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place.
Life made him famous. Death made him immortal.
I'm only made out of flesh, blood, and bone.
Many claim he's still alive. A Kansas City doctor substantiated those claims.
I would never treat anyone without seeing them eye to eye. And it is truly Elvis Aron Presley. There's absolutely no doubt.
When we first met Dr. Donald Hinton, he was a successful board-certified psychiatrist and medical doctor.
It's been very stressful.
Stressful because of countless investigations.
The first, by the Missouri Attorney General's office, cleared him of any wrongdoing.
The scrutiny started after Dr. Hinton announced he was treating a patient who claimed he was Elvis Presley. The man used Elvis's deceased twin brother's name, Jesse Presley. We submitted a public information request and got this copy of the Missouri Attorney General's report. But inside the envelope, the documents raise more questions than answers. Take a look at this letter Jesse sent to the Missouri Attorney General. He writes, "Dear Sir, Dr. Hinton was not involved in any conspiracy. These are all good people who, because of their love for me, got caught up in this mess. If I continue to expose myself like I did in the book, I will be eliminated very easily."
If a right-handed person, you see, had a tilt or slant.
That letter was reviewed by an international graphologist, Shirley Mason. Her analysis is part of the Attorney General's report.
That handwriting remains constant. It's as exact as a long math problem.
Shirley's analyzed handwriting for 23 years, 10 with the Kansas City, Missouri Bureau of Investigations.
Not only did I work on cases of forgery, but on criminality cases. My work stands up in court as a concrete evidence.
These are supposed to be 5 original letters.
2 years ago, we hired forensic document examiner Mary Kelly to review Jesse's letters. She compared them to a letter written by Elvis in 1972 to Richard Nixon. After extensive testing, her results were inconclusive.
I couldn't say that they were the same writer, and I certainly couldn't say that they weren't the same writer.
In the AG's report, Shirley concluded that Jesse is Elvis.
The same person wrote everything I have seen. No one else can write in the same pattern as someone
Unless
else,
it's your real twin.
no matter how clever.
Graceland says no way.
We firmly believe that person who died on August 16th was Elvis.
It's amazing to me.
A lot of misinformation to keep everybody looking and hopping.
You know,
This
things
man
change,
tells
the
it.
world changes. Things come and go. Kings rise and fall. One famous person who lives, he dies. And years pass by, centuries may pass by. Some are still talked about, some are still remembered. For all of their glory and all of their fame and all that they did, all past. But Christ remains. And you think about it. I'm looking at all the people in my family, all the ones that I knew growing up, they're all dead and gone. All the friends that I've had, most of them, a lot of them, have come and gone. But Jesus remains. Amen. But boy, I tell you what, we can anchor our souls on Him. It's time to start saying thank you, God, for making me who I am. Giving me the opportunity to do whatever it is I'm doing. It's for your glory. I am being, I'm doing, I'm saying, and I'm acting, and I'm living the way that I know it pleases you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for doing something in my life. I don't look at it as giving up nothing. I look at it as gaining everything. Amen.
I never not saw him reading, looking, questioning.
He was a searcher about life, a searcher about truth.
He always had that fight between
you know, what was right? You know, what was wrong?
I believe that all good things come from God.
I mean, it all came down to God for him.
Won't you tell me when to the
I think he kind of looked into, I think he looked at everything.
You know, that's Lisa
Trying
Marie.
to find something. But looked hard.
You've heard that old song that somebody's saying, "You're always on my mind." You're always on my mind. You're always on my mind. And the thought came to me, the Lord says, you were always on my mind.
He went through meditation. It was a way for him to get inside himself.
I think it's more or less put your mind at ease at this point.
He truly had that desire to find peace and tranquility, which is represented for him.
And Elvis would love to just
His
leave the world,
hairdresser.
walk around the park, enjoy the serenity, and people left him alone. Elvis would go into the chapel and he would meditate.
He would go to where the monks lived and spend hours, and nobody ever knew. There was never press about it. It was not about money.
We would go in the back and speak with some of the monks. They would reveal and explain certain experiences that they would have. He said, look, how come I haven't an experience?
Notice this
I want to
picture.
feel God.
Said Elvis, I believe you're my bell sheep, and I'm praying you have a spiritual experience that will cause you to lead millions of people to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
See that?
And it was at that point.
Yep.
This
is how remote
moved
viewing
Elvis. He
works.
was
They
already
send
in
you
a
things that you know
spiritual
are
moved
tags.
him in such a way
That video
that
went
he
up
began to weep.
2 days ago, the one with the
His
Madonna
body
and
began
child.
to tremble.
Right.
As weeping.
Right.
And I grabbed his hand.
Right.
And of course, we all joined hands. And I had a prayer with him. I asked the Lord to give him peace in his mind, strength in his body, and also the Holy Spirit with peace in his soul. This is a wonderful, wonderful time that we had in prayer. And he was weeping and crying at that particular time. Grabbed my hand and he said, please don't leave me.
You can find God under a tree. You can meet with God driving down the highway in the car. You can get saved on the side of the highway. Hello. Why? Because that altar, that place that God has appointed, is His almighty eternal Spirit. It is in that Spirit we meet Him. When God's Spirit hovers and comes upon us, that is where we meet.
I felt something like a blast.
He turns around, he looks at me, and he had tears in his eyes. He said, it happened, it finally happened.
God has blessed me.
I think that
Living reality.
basically he finally reached what I guess his goals and what he thought, you know, his purpose was in life.
The old man must die so that the new man may live. It's like we're a butterfly, you know, a caterpillar that turned into a butterfly. You know, caterpillar was in the cocoon, wrapped himself up. And he had a new birth, and came out as a beautiful butterfly and flew away. Sure, I'm going to tell the world will hear it from my lips. Yeah, people's going to hear it all right. All righty, they're going to hear it.
Right.
But it's hidden away until they find him. And when they find him, they too can belong to this secret society. Really not secret, but it's secret to those that don't know.
Yes.
Oh, it's out in open, but people can't see it. It's hidden. Jesus walked among men and still didn't see him. He walked among healed the sick and still couldn't see him. We walk with Jesus. You're the best of company. Oh, yes. Not any better. I want to kneel with the shepherds, and I want to come with the wise men. I want to give.
Now, of course, he doesn't have professional background singers there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm not going to worry about what people say. I'm not going to worry about the IRS. I'm not going to worry about the middle. I'm not going to worry about the Muslims. I'm not going to worry about anybody, what anybody says or thinks of me. So what if the whole world's against me or the whole world's for me? It doesn't matter. If God's against me, I'm in trouble. I'd rather the whole world be against me and God be for me than to be with the world and have God against me. The whole world doesn't know it. Let me tell you, there's a song that says, in the garden, the joy that I have no one knows. The joy we share as we tarry there, no other has ever known. Thank you for Jesus. Thank you for Jesus this morning. The Rock of Ages. He is my eternal Savior who will never fail me. Forgive me, Lord, for failing you. Forgive me for my shortcoming. Forgive me for turning aside. Forgive me for being forgetful. And I see you. Help me to walk in that light as you are in the light. In Jesus' name. Everybody said, Amen. So when you find the Lord, you find out that's the best way to go. Amen? Because now you know Jesus. And he has had such an effect on you. Praise God. If there's anybody that I aspire to be like, it would be him. Amen.
Okay. Now, you know, Vic, a lot of people think Jesus never did anything, say, human, like love a woman, or actually be a spiritual warrior running a group of people. They never really have given much question to the mystery of Golgotha, which is something Steiner talks about. And, you know, in the end here, we got two choices. We can realize our own godhood, like what Elvis has done. And you know, we know about this and talk, you know, in our groups, like, we use different language, but it's essentially the same thing. The message is going out there, and, you know, as we go into the program side of this, we're in the nice part of this right now. But as we go into the program, we surely see how religion has torn as many people up as war. This is just Elvis's witness at this point, and we're not in disclosure yet as far as deep things.
Well, I mean, to be quite honest and frank with you, I find I'm a little disappointed because what he's talking about is lower world consciousness stuff, you know, the believing in this thing called God and stuff. And I'm not saying that God doesn't exist or anything, but I'm just saying that the concepts that he's espousing are basically orthodox concepts that, in my opinion, are limiting. And,
now, wait a second. Could it be, though, that what he's really saying is that he knows he is God, just like you are God, just like I am God?
Well, I understand that, and I think that's a little closer to the truth, you know, because the truth to me means that, you know, what God to me is nothing more than a consciousness. that decided to break itself up into innumerable quadrillions and bits and pieces, and each one of those bits and pieces has a reflection of itself. And the only thing in my feeble mind that can understand the reason for that is because, and this is going to sound a little bit like a heretic, but it's trying to realize itself. It's looking at itself as the one, but without divesting itself and breaking itself up and then seeing itself back. It can't have the experiences that it needs in order for it to expand. But it gets into an area that is, to the mind, it just boggles the mind. You just can't really see it, because on one hand it's breaking itself to evolve, but then it's already evolved. So we're back to the no thing concept. So it's something that just basically breaks the mind down, because the mind can't comprehend and accept those things because there's no logic to it. It's just like looking at an empty space, and one person will experience the empty space and have a very different experience than a person who's trying to figure it out. There's no figuring it out. It just simply is what it is. So that's how I see, God. And so when I hear individuals, and with all due respect to the Christian communities, I respect it. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I have to respectfully say it's illusion. You're pursuing illusion, because the only immortality is you as soul. You're an immortal being. And so to say, it's the right path, or this is the right thing to do and all that, it doesn't matter. Because if you don't get it right this time, you can just continue doing it over and over until you have the full experience, and then you reach some kind of level of enlightenment, if that's where you want to dwell. But, I certainly don't believe I have all the answers. I'm far from it. But I've been around enough and studied enough and experienced enough directly, through my own experiences. And that's one of the things I liked about James and Wingmakers, is that he really delved into the idea that we are all one, that we live in the eternal now. Mm-hmm. And then he broke down these various levels of consciousness, whether it's the multiverse or this, and then to show, that we're here really to learn. I mean, more than anything, we're here to have a certain experience. And the best thing we could do is just realize that without the ego, we would not be able to discern the differences between ourselves and everything else. So that if I were to eliminate my ego, you and I would be one. I'd be one with everything around me, because everything is one. So the thing is to try to just understand the role of the ego and realize that we have to come to a place where we just simply realize what is. And it's just funny, because to realize what is simply to just accept what is and know that we are all in the I am, that we are all the one. We're all part of this oneness, this unity. And we're all simply, having different experiences.
All right, let me bring this up then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The reason why most Christians or people or whoever mm-hmm. don't feel like that they are God or one with God mm-hmm. is because, like you said, it's that ego guilt. Now, this man has got years of guilt and pain and suffering for all the people's hearts that got shattered the day he left. And I think that once he gets to walk in his sovereign freedom, once he steps out, that I think that part of it clears, actually. And the other thing about this is, as far as the whole thing about doing it over again, okay, so if you work through your spiritual journey, theoretically, when you leave this physical body, now you are Christed with a clear stream of consciousness in and out of form, which takes us back to the Mahu. Takes us back.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, what Mahu tried to impart is that we could have, you and I, our soul, the part of us that's that reality that we call soul, can split itself up into thousands of people. He says in one of his teachings, and that sort of impressed the hell out of me when I thought about it. And I said, but he says he knows individuals, entities that are living up to 1,000 lifetimes all at the same time.
Yes.
And across thousands of years of time. And when I read that, I thought, that's pretty deep stuff for me, because it just says to me, well, if I'm here having this experience right now, who's to say that I'm not him, in another experience, that he and I belong to, specifically a certain soul, and so that's where it starts to all break down. But my feeling is that again, all is as it should be, because to try to break it down beyond all as it should be, you're going to get caught up in the illusion of it all. The anger, the this, the that, the politics, and all this stuff. You get caught up in that, whereas in fact, all you really have to do is just realize that you simply are, just like the universe. You exist in that moment. It's the eternal now. There is no tomorrow. There is no yesterday. We create it as we go along. That's how I see it.
Oh, I do too. And he's getting ready to create something that's never been seen on the face of this planet.
Oh, I'd like to see it then.
I think you will.
Okay.
Now, I want to read to you. This is the page that wanted to be read out of the Impersonal Life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It says, that transcendent innermost part of you, which quickens within as you read, which responds to this, my word, which perceives its truth, which recognizes all truth and discards all error wherever found. Not the part which has been feeding on errors all these years. For I am your real teacher, the only real one you will ever know, and the only master. I, your divine self.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
I, the I am of you,
mm-hmm.
bring to you this my message. My living word, as I have brought to you everything in life, be it book or master, poverty or riches, bitter experience or love, to teach you that I, and I alone, your own true self, am the teacher for you, the only teacher and the only God, who is and always has been providing you not only with bread and wine of life, but with all things needed for your physical, mental, and spiritual growth and sustenance. So these are words that Elvis vibrated with, I would say, in his 40s. And you know how it is. I mean, you got a lot of friends that are getting older. I see it in my clients. Sometimes people streamline things down in order to be accepted by a wider group. And I think that Elvis walks a very fine line here between saint and sinner. And of course, like, I've shared with you, I mean, come on. I am the honored and the scorned. I am the whore and the virgin. You see what I mean? And back to the kid with the water getting dumped on his head. In order to be the Mahu, in order to be enlightened, in order to take this journey, you actually do have to have the experience and then make the choices. So that's what I dig about this thing. I dig it that Elvis made his own choices, and that now he's going to bring it to such a divided world. And, you know, no matter what happens, he's good with it. And that's beautiful. That's just like me. I mean, I've disclosed such difficult things, and, you know, if it's all done tomorrow, I mean, I've enjoyed it. I've had so much fun, and there's been so much work done. When we get into Friday in our walk through this, okay, we've got two choices. We can either accept our own godhood, or we can fall into the thing of all this AI intelligence crap that is sucking the humanity out of people. So, you know, I think it's good for people to see both sides of it. And here again, it's their choice where they find themselves in the middle of those two places. But they should be made aware of the many dimensions to this reality, because this time is different, and we are at that exact moment in no time. And that's why this man stepped forward, because think about Standing Rock, Mr. Vic. Now, you know, I was in behind the scenes and knew everything that was going on. I knew the veterans were going before they went. I knew the men like Randy and them were going, and they were going to stand in front of those women and those babies. I knew all that.
Mm-hmm.
And surely, of course, like we know, okay, so nothing happens when all those big, strong men are there. And then the next thing you know, they leave and they're shooting rubber bullets or gas or, you know, whatever obscenities happen, you see. And like I was talking about to a kid today, that whole game was to wear the opponent down, to continue to abuse the opponent, and then to put it right in their face and go, look, you have to accept all this. And this man will not do that. And many of the men that I know in this, you know, I think at this point, they will feel very akin to the message that Elvis brings, and as he walks forward,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people will. And I think that their traumas will be healed by seeing that this really was all just a game, Mr. Vic, but it was a game we didn't know we were playing, nor did we give our consent to be manipulated or modified or changed. You know, whether it's the cloning story or the AI story or the off-planet influences story.
Right.
Right. We were created in the image of God. And this man is walking as the Christ. And, you know, like I've told you, I mean, I tell people that I know who my real mom and dad is, and Jesus is my brother. So a lot of people think that I'm nuttier than a fruitcake because I don't have a membership to a church, and I have no business talking about God if I'm not that proper church-going type of chick.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're back to that. I mean, it's just, you know, for me, it's so difficult because, you know, I've been through so many things, and the whole Christian thing, and the, you know, I mean, I've done it. I'm not saying I've done it all, but I've done enough to makes me go, you know, wow, okay, you know, it's, I've concluded what it all is to me. And again, you know, we're all having this experience. You're having yours, I'm having mine. And, you know, I respect you, you know, and still love you like my sister.
Right.
You know, for whatever it is you're doing. And I love you like I'd love myself. You know, so there's a lot of there's good stuff there, you know, but I think when we start to compare things like, Christianity to things and the teachings of Jesus to, let's say, the teachings of Mahunahi, you know, it's you know, it's like two completely different things almost.
Yes, it is, Vic. And, you know, it's such a challenge now because there are so many choices, and these choices are what some people get over the fights that end their lives over. So it is a blessing to be able to sit in a group and be okay with, you know, those differences.
Well, we all get recycled. We'll go through this experience. We'll go through everything we're going to go through, and then in the end, we're going to die, and we're going to come back because we haven't finished the experiences that we needed in order to move on.
All right, now let me get
Simple as that in my mind.
Let me get in a lot of trouble, okay? Let me go for as much trouble as I can go for.
Okay.
Because, as a hairdresser, of course, we do talk about sex, politics, and religion. So we're on the religion section of this talk right now. We're going to do them all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If we look at remote viewing and we look at Courtney Brown's take on the suffering of Christ, a lot of people believe that he didn't get tortured and get nails pounded through him and everything. There's other stories, and I'm not going to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. And I've heard some really good ones, interesting ones, too.
Okay, so this is what I believe has happened with Elvis. And I think that, okay, so he's just retired from being a pastor now because he's taken the name Elvis back.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think once he steps out of that experience, and really he's 83, he's not 82, because if you life chart, you got to start at 1 instead of 0. But he is at the place cosmically where he could have the feeling arise in him that has said, I have done and seen it all. I do not believe this man has done and seen it all yet, because just like me, people don't understand why I'm a secret weapon. People don't understand how I do these things different than other people do. They don't understand what the purpose of the phenomena is. And every time I walk through it, something bigger manifests. You
see, but you're the only one that could say you've seen it all, because you're an eternal being, and you're going to continue doing whatever it is that you need to do in order to continue to evolve. And then maybe someday you'll even run your own universe. Who knows? I'm just saying that we shouldn't take a short-sighted view of this stuff, thinking in terms of life, death, and salvation and all that stuff. And we have to look at it from the position of, this is simply what life is. This is it, period. There's nothing else to add to it. And when you understand, at least for me, when I understand that, and when I understood that, then a lot of this stuff just becomes almost meaningless. I mean, yeah, you can listen to Elvis talk and he can espouse wonderful truths, but then again, those are his truths that he's espousing, not your truths.
He's alive. He's not in a box. That's the point of the story I'm trying to drive home to the viewers today, without like their head blowing off their shoulders. And at the same time, healing their heart. So
there could be some very beautiful cosmic reasons why it's being done the way it's being done, why it's happening at this particular time, and why we're seeing it and experiencing it. We don't really know. I don't even think he knows. But in the end, it's going to come down to, is he here to basically introduce a new religion, for example? We don't know.
No, but when he tells his real story, and when you see it, your mouth is going to drop to the ground, but at the same time, because you know background stories. So as you add that in, then what we're going to do is expose the programs.
Okay.
All right. Let me try to get out of this real quick. Just give me a minute.
Case, the Presley estate had lost.
That's made against him.
But by far the longest and most significant document covers the years 1976 to 1982. Containing over 1,000 pages, it concerns a criminal investigation and a man named Frederick Peter Froh. Elvis told his father, who handled all of his personal finances, that he wanted to sell the Jetstar. Vernon was introduced to a man named Frederick Peter Froh in May of 1976. Froh talked Vernon into getting involved with a very complicated leasing arrangement with his company. But Frederick Peter Froh was, in reality, a con man, a member of a criminal group called the Fraternity, a group with direct ties to organized crime. It has been estimated that the fraternity managed to con at least $2 billion from people all over the world. And by the spring of 1977, according to an attorney familiar with the case, the Presley estate had lost more than $1 million.
Well, I think that Elvis got involved in a very dangerous FBI undercover operation, and in order to protect himself, a member from his family has to arrange his disappearance.
The following is a chronology of the documented evidence that some believe
love Bill
have
Bixby
resulted
too.
in the
Always liked
staged
him.
disappearance of Elvis Presley.
I like
15, United States Attorney Michael Cody advised the FBI that his office was ready to go before the grand jury with the Operation Fountain Pen case. August 16th, Elvis Presley is reported dead at Graceland. October 18th, 4 alleged members of the fraternity, including Frederick Peter Pro, were arrested in connection with the Presley fraud case.
Well, aside from Elvis being a victim of the fraternity, how does the Presley case relate to Operation Fountain Pen? Do you think it was dangerous enough to justify a sudden disappearance?
Well, that's the point. If you look at the criminal background of certain individuals who were involved in the Presley case, it would be highly justifiable.
Do you think that Elvis was put under the witness protection program?
Well, the fact that the 2 members of the fraternity who were involved with Presley in the Jetstar deal were themselves put under the witness security program is something in itself. If it was dangerous enough for the prime suspect to be put under the witness security program, it was surely good enough for Elvis Presley as the main victim to be put under the program. But Elvis Presley was a federal agent. There's no doubt about that.
All right, Gail, what do you think of all this?
Well, there is no doubt about it. Elvis Presley was a federal agent. His power and clout went to the White House. President Nixon made his appointment. We also know by records that Elvis Presley received a call from President-elect Jimmy Carter at the end of 1976, and President Carter wanted to appoint Elvis to a special commission in the Carter administration. Another call was placed by the FBI between President Carter and Elvis on August 15, 1977. Elvis's name is listed in the Justice Department's Black Book as a federal agent.
I felt I could help America if I became a federal drug enforcement agent. President Nixon was starting a national crusade against drugs. So I went to Washington, and the president agreed to meet me. He called the director at the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs and told him to make me a federal drug enforcement agent. It was the most wonderful moment of my life. And I told him I wanted to help people respect the flag.
That the strong possibility exists he may very well be a part of the witness protection program. But being a member of the law enforcement community myself, this prevents me from ever undermining any efforts of another law enforcement agency.
Monty Nicholson is an investigator for the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. In 1977, Monty was contacted by a man who claimed he worked for Elvis. He also claimed to have taken 2 photos of Elvis boarding a helicopter with government agents after the time of his alleged death. Upon seeing the photos, Monty became intrigued by the possibility that Elvis may have faked his death.
Do you ever feel communication with your father? Do you ever feel that channeling? Some people claim that they feel their father or their mother departed around them.
I don't know. We're getting into a hairy, controversial field here. And
Yeah, you can feel it or feel it.
I mean, if I don't want to answer.
Now, we brought these documents to handwriting analyst Paul Wiest.
We have Frederick N. Full, et al. Elvis A. Presley, deceased victim. This little circle down here and this cross indicates they should delete this, and here's what was written above to change it and correct it. Frederick Peter Pro. This handwriting was compared with known handwriting of Elvis Presley, and it matches very, very close.
All right. What about the one that says to Memphis?
All right, this is the one that says to Memphis here. And this is also references Frederick Peter Paul, Elvis Presley, deceased, victim. And down here on the bottom, we see 0.73 to Memphis 8/15/78. I have compared this to known handwriting of Elvis Presley's and find that this also matches very, very favorably.
All right, now what about the issue that Elvis Presley signed his own death certificate?
He didn't sign it. This was signed by the medical examiner down here.
All right.
But the name right on here, the street address is 3764 Elvis Presley Boulevard. That, I believe, is in Elvis Presley's own handwriting. Also over here under occupation entertainment. They both match up very closely to their own handwriting.
All of it was, in your professional opinion, Elvis Presley's handwriting.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Now, Paul's findings were corroborated by handwriting analyst Sheila Lowe. Now, Ms. Lowe is qualified by the California Supreme Court as an expert witness in document examination. We asked Ms. Lowe to compare 10 pages of questionable handwriting notations made in the estate of Elvis Presley inventory, dated December 19, 1977, under penalty of perjury. Ms. Lowe issued the following opinion, and I quote, that the handwriting on all documents was executed by the same writer.
Well, we wanted to talk to Elvis Presley Enterprises. That's the corporation that runs Graceland. But someone else did call, Jesse himself. He contacted me asking for our help.
You know, I stood in that man's shoes. I saw things through his eyes. Or stood and watched with helpless hands while the heart inside you dies. So help your brother along the way, no matter where he starts. But the same God that made you made him too. These men with broken hearts.
Okay, Vic. Now, I want to read you something real quick. This is what Elvis had to say on religion to his hairdresser, Larry. It says, "I've always believed in God, but my church really turned me off," Elvis said. "I always knew there was a truth to my religion." See, he's saying his, not theirs. To his religion, and somehow I never lost faith in God despite those old preachers trying to make people feel guilty for things they never done. I always knew deep inside me there were answers that went beyond their rigid, closed minds. The first time I ever heard about the almighty I Am was from my mom when I was a little kid. She believed in all the supernatural and the Holy Spirit. She was a mystical woman. He says she was mystical, man. She just naturally knew things. And her middle name was Love, Gladys Love Presley. He went on talking for some time, recalling his youth and how he envisioned, and I say remote viewed, being a star someday. It says, "I'll tell you, man, every morning when I wake up, I still can't believe it. My life's been a fairy tale. It's like a dream. I'm so grateful for every day of my life." So that's all I wanted to add to that piece of our journey.
Well, your life is a dream.
Yes, it is.
This is all a dream. We have to understand that just looking at it from just even the science perspective with quantum physics, that, nothing material even comes into existence until we put our attention on it. So
right.
It is a dream. And when we die, what happens simply is we go into another dream and then we forget this dream, and it just goes on and on and on.
See, I think it's really cool that you guys are saying the same things, but you say it so modern.
Well, he is, let's face it. If you're a Christian and you were raised, to believe in things like the Trinity and all that stuff, and if you're Catholic, if you believe in the Pope and all this stuff, it's gonna be difficult for you to open your consciousness up enough to say, geez, what if all this stuff is really a dream? it's hard to do. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, if I were a Christian and someone said what I just finished saying, I'd just, blow it off and, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So, and then there's people that are so really into it that if you just even mention something that goes against it, they'll kill you. They'll just because they can't handle the paradigm shift. They're afraid of it.
It's like a lose-lose battle, and so that's why he's been keeping such a close eye on Trump. And
go ahead.
He's getting ready to blow the lid off some shit. So I can either show you a Facebook cartoon troll thing that they made to warn people.
Well, I'd like to know what specifically you're referring to, because Trump is clearly a phenomenon at this stage, and we don't really know. I don't really know where it's all going, but it seems to me that there may be some very big surprises coming along. I personally don't think the guy's going to make it through the first year, but
he's not going to make it through the first 100 days.
You're probably right. It doesn't look that way to me. I mean, I could be wrong, but when you have that many people firing at you, sooner or later, some of those bullets are going to hit their marks.
Well, okay, here again, flesh is flesh, but what he's really struggling with.
Well, I meant that metaphorically,
Oh, I know. But
Okay.
what he's struggling with is what you and I talked about, which is that Scrooge story and Alex Gray and the Celestial Courts.
Okay.
So you get taken on a mystical experience. Somebody tells you, blah, blah, blah. You say, yeah, I want to do my part. And you come back and see, this is what most people don't realize. I mean, as far as the presidency goes. Within that first 100 days, whoever the cabal is, whoever the extraterrestrials are, whoever the group is, comes and talks to the president and says, okay, this is what you can do and say, and this is what you can't talk about. So if he's already said things that he's already gone back on and Elvis is watching, he's going to bring his proof. We don't got no time to play around. I mean, I watched one of the riot protests that he had on his page, and it's the fires are getting stoked too hot already. So let's go to some disclosure. Let me take you to some politics, okay?
Okay.
Right, we love politics. This is a nice one. I mean, not really.
Memphis, Tennessee, the home of the late, great Elvis Presley.
W.C. Hank, won't you look down over me? Yeah, I got a first-class ticket, but I'm as blue as a dog can be. Then I'm walking in Memphis, walking with my feet 10 feet off a field.
Here, for the first time, Elvis's closest friends and confidants, known as the Memphis Mafia, tell their own emotional story of Elvis's last few hours on Earth.
I turned him over, and I knew he was dead. Just knew.
Needless to say, a lot of times I've listened to an Elvis song and just broke down, and cried.
Elvis took drugs because he liked it. Everybody thinks they're trying to escape anything. He just fucking loved it.
And I get pissed off at the people that helped contribute to it. But I get pissed off at Elvis. He's a smart man. He knew what he was doing, but he denied it.
I threatened the doctor. I said, if I ever see this man in this shape again, I will go all the way.
Colonel Parker walks up to me. We stand toe to toe, and he stares coldly into my eyes. He says, the only thing that's important is that that man is on stage tonight. Nothing else matters. Nothing.
Sun Studios in Memphis. It was here 50 years ago that rock and roll was born. And so began the legend that is Elvis Presley. In the course of a glorious career, Elvis would take the world by storm, starting in 1954 with his first hit, That's All Right Mama.
How old were you in 1954, Vic?
4 years old. Actually 3, but 4 really.
Very, very shy, retiring type individual. He didn't like to be around new people. He didn't trust them. He trusted us. We were a source of comfort. He could be what he wanted to be around us. He could be himself. If there wasn't Elvis himself, and it was around us. He didn't like, Elvis did not make friends easy. Just didn't like to do it. And with us, he didn't have to do it. And with us, we all could be what we wanted to be, and he could be the same.
3 p.m. Thursday, the 15th of August, 1977. Elvis is preparing for yet another back-breaking tour, the second tour of that year. Elvis's girlfriend, Ginger Alden, didn't want to go on tour with him. Ginger was just 21 and not prepared to bow to his every demand, something Elvis was used to, even during his doomed marriage to Priscilla. Over the years, his Memphis Mafia had supplied him with a string of compliant girls.
If you've got wealth and looks, they're really going to come. And they're going to come fast and hard. And what you have to do is on a continual basis weed them out. Because you got to weed the squirrels out from the lambs. And the squirrels cause you more trouble than lamb ever caused. Not because they eat a lot of nuts, but it's because they, they're crazy. And this is the problem.
He was so charismatic that he would draw, he was like, they were like moths flying around a flame.
Oh, my best friend.
It's funny to me today because just for the hell of it, one Saturday night, at a time when there was only 7 of us, including Elvis. See, on Friday night and Saturday night, Elvis used to let all the girls that hung around the games. And one Saturday night, just for the hell of it, I was bored. So I went around the house and I counted all the women that were in the house with us 7 guys. And this is not an exaggeration. There was 152 women there.
Man, I thought I was in heaven. What can I say? It was exciting all the time, and I thought, man, if this is a dream, I don't ever want to wake up, so, but it had its moments too, but, overall, if you look at it, it was such an exciting time. It was something new. Elvis was gifted with the fact that, he was constantly looking for something new to do. And you never knew what this man was going to come up with,
The phenomenal part of it was that the screaming and the hollering, and you couldn't hear, they wouldn't stop. And it would, he could sing a number, nobody even knew what he said. It was just pandemonium. It never stopped.
Elvis had a tremendous draw to him emotionally and physically, where you looked at him and you thought, that is probably about the best looking man I've ever seen, And he just had a charisma about him. He had a way of pulling you in. People call it Southern charm. He had it in spades.
8 p.m., Thursday, the 15th of August, 1977. Elvis goes to the dentist in search of prescription drugs. He's accompanied by Ginger, Billy Smith, and Billy's wife, Jo.
In the movie years, the drugs were in control. The sleeping pills and the uppers for the energy level. I couldn't take them every day. Not to be the goody-goody, but I just couldn't take that pill because it was going to do to me. Make my mouth dry. It was just going to make me wired all day. and I just didn't want to do it. But I had to take him sometimes because he would stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30, 3 o'clock, and we get up at 5 to go on location, and there's no way. And you don't. I learned
Juliet
very start.
Lewis, right? Or Juliet
I sleep when he sleeps.
Prowse.
Yeah, I'm not.
She had legs.
Oh yeah.
The guys around Elvis, we were just, we stayed wired up all the time.
We didn't go to bed till 2 o'clock in the evening, and it was tiring.
A lot to do with the mafia, Vic.
So we take a little speed to stay up the next day.
I believe it.
A lot of times we couldn't go to sleep because we were high, and we had to take a sleep till we go to sleep. And we lived that way for a long time. We really lived hard.
And what's worse, the government or mafia, I mean, it's all connected. That's where the story gets hard.
Amidst
I agree.
Many warnings of what excessive drug use would bring.
Because the government and their uses drug monies to fund their black operations, the stuff that Congress doesn't want to deal with. And I understand it's as high as $1 trillion a year that they're getting. So
yes. And of course, even like the parties and the drugs and the girls, we know this is the sex industry trade now.
Yep.
And we know how the prostitution is connected to other things, whether they're satanic or the pedophilia stuff or the organ harvesting. So we're seeing the early days of the programs played out on very innocent people. Very 50s Leave It to Beaver kind of mentality. And then you hop into the Wild Wicked West or something,
Right.
Huge timeline shift.
Well, yeah, I see what you mean. And I have to agree with what you're saying.
What are you really all about?
I want to know them on the human level. And I think it helps us all know ourselves. See how we got here.
And I said, Elvis, that I work.
Well, again, I think we just have to realize that we're here having this experience, and it's almost pointless to try to change it, because if you change it, you're going to rob a lot of other people of their experience. So it's just so convoluted. It's difficult to really put your mind around it.
But I do think that the people like Elvis, whether they know it or not, are doing the Wingmakers thing of cracking the egg from the inside. Mm-hmm. So there's some kind of work that's going on that he's had envisioned and has been living and arising in him for years.
Mm-hmm.
That in the end, his job will be to stand up for the people that live in this country and to rally them to step forward and to just not consent to what these programs are doing.
Yep. No, I see what you're saying. But the problem is that, you've got individuals that are, from the time they're in, kindergarten, they're being mind controlled into seeing things, to look at things a certain way, to look at sex a certain way, to look at religion a certain way. And by the time they get through high school, everybody's just cookie cutter programmed into, whatever it is. That's why there's so much of whatever it is that we're seeing, whether it's prostitution, drugs, violence and stuff like that. I don't really know. I haven't really put a lot of attention on what could potentially come along. All I know is that it's at the stage right now where things are just becoming more and more chaotic.
Yes, and he's very well aware of that, and he wants to do his part to ease the suffering of humanity.
But the problem with that is even though, let's say, he has all the wonderful intentions, he may just really be working to create the same problem. In other words, whatever it is he's doing, if he's going at it from the orthodox perspective, he's going to continue to trap all these souls into thinking that, geez, life eternal is not, we have to be saved, and all these things. And so, he, in effect, even though he's doing it for honorable reasons and noble reasons, he could still be part of the illusion that will keep things the same.
See, now I'm going to have to respectfully disagree.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, just like as far as that goes, because I do really think that he has greatly already changed reality, and I've been witness to that.
In what way did he change reality, in your opinion?
To take the step to prove that he is who he says he is through this series of events, and disclose people like Trump, people like Putin, all of them. He knows a lot about the computer hacking going on in France too, and to me, that ties back to the same reason why I got hacked, and why the rest of the world gets hacked.
So what are you saying, that Trump and Putin are bad guys?
I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm asking.
We've talked a long time ago that you can be puppeted or you can be possessed. So what I'm saying is, you and I know that we've got Heart Math Institute, we've got Courtney Brown and the remote viewers, and we've got Dan Winter that built the machine for Heart Math. So whoever's going to run things, if this earth is going to stay an organic living sphere, must be put through those painless methods of deciding if they are true and if they are here to serve the greater good. If not, get the hell out of the way.
Well, I think Gaia, whatever you want to call the earth entity, I think it will, or she will, deal with the issue at some point if she has to.
Well, let's put it metaphorically then. You know I'm Sophia. You know I know the original creation stories. You know I know what I did. Now, if I can come together through a series of events with particular beings to set something right, and that's what I've been here to do since the go.
Well, it won't be the first time that the earth was erased and and humanity had to start over again. It's always possible.
See, I believe that the earth has already went through a meiosis, divided off into two spheres, and that soon we will not have to deal with this war and looting and blood crimes, and all that is not in our reality. And we have another reality. And I think that this expansion of humanity, whatever kind of evolution it is, I know that I've been active in it and a part of it. And I believe you are, and I believe he is, and I believe about 100 other people I know are. Right.
Okay. Well, I respect that.
Yeah. This is big days. So, we all shine on, but you got to at least give people some hope in having a legitimate system. And like Joe says, you know what? Screw all this one president bullshit. Why don't you get a panel of mahoos? Let's say 12 mahoos. How about Chuck Norris? How about Elvis? You see what I mean? How about men that stand up, whoever they are? And they form a group that can reset after everything crumbles, because these systems aren't going to last. And so if we're at the end of an age, and then you have someone that theoretically comes back from the dead, even though, he didn't get the nails in his hands and get put in the box, and, you see what I'm saying? This is the cycle coming around again. Now, we're not here to repeat what's already been done. It's time to expand. It's time to quit being trapped. I believe.
Some people, there are those that believe that, we're going to move into a higher state of consciousness as human, and a lot of this stuff is going to fall away. So it's just one of those things that you really can't understand it until you're there.
But what you can do is create your reality, and you can start visualizing and seeing it.
Oh, I understand that, and I totally agree with that.
Right. And that's what I'm doing, and you know that. And that's why it puts me in a difficult position.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, give it a, keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing, and I think that it's wonderful. I admire your courage and your.
It takes a lot of courage, Vic. I'm
I know it has to take a lot of courage. I
and
understand.
hey, wait till I turn you guys on to the video with the cryogenics lab. Things they say can't be done got done. So see, now we're into a whole thing too. Twins, clones, adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're in bases and underground stuff. So this is so much bigger
to
me than a human experience, because it is the macrocosm. It's everything that you could be affected by, every program, every feeling. And these things are real to us, as we know. So if all of a sudden you have a collective healing, people can still make their own choices. But the Schumann frequency is going up whether we participate or not. So to me...
But there's another school of thought that says that everything that's bad with this world is the way it's supposed to be, because this was never intended to be heaven. That's why we go through all the pain and the suffering, and we see all the heart. I mean, now it's gotten to the point where it's ridiculous with some of the stuff that I've been seeing, but there is a philosophy that says, hey, that's the way it's supposed to be, because how else could you possibly become self-aware or aware of all the things that you need to do in order to make this heaven on earth, for example, without first experiencing all the crap,
Right.
The crap is there for a purpose,
Right.
But it comes back again. We get back to the, is it illusion? Do we go through this illusion, and why are we going through this experience? If I want to change this experience, I just change who I am. I focus on a different frequency, and all of a sudden, voila, I move on to something else. Maybe somebody will come in, put a bullet through my head. I don't know how it'll happen, but it'll happen. That this will all change. And so we have to understand that there's just infinite numbers of frequencies that existence has, that existence occurs in, and that we have a choice to shift in and out of all those frequencies. So we've chosen for you and I, we're conscious entities having this interaction right now in this particular frequency, and having the experience of trying to expand beyond where we are today, but there's nothing preventing us from just doing that on our own. It's right. Just the way it is. But listen, my love, I'm really getting a little tired.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, it's past my bedtime here.
No, and I totally appreciate you sticking this out 2 hours with me.
Okay.
And now you know what I'm doing.
Okay, well, I'm very much looking forward to seeing where it goes, and I'll be keeping a keen eye on your activities in this arena. So thank you very much. I love it. I think this whole thing with Elvis is fascinating. I don't know where it's all going, but in my heart, I know that it's going to be a good thing.
Well, I'll tell you this, Mr. Vic. Come Friday, I'm going to bring Og Telez, his information into this, because he's more the off-planet side of this. And so, like I said, in my experience right now, okay, I am choosing the organic, spiritual, human experience, and I want to magnify mine.
Good for you.
Yes.
As opposed to the unhuman, what is it, the Borg scenario with technology and all that stuff?
The hive mind, the AI, the secret bases, and see, like Og has memories actually from 2010 where he says he met me. So you understand where we go with that now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. It looks like a lot of fun, and I sincerely want to express my appreciation to you in all humility for allowing me to share this experience with you. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And look, just go check out the channel. And even if you go to my YouTube channel at Suze Pratt, I have the playlist called Elvis NeverEnding Story. And what you would want to see next would be Elvis Presley returns grace to Trump. List this. The future is promising.
Right.
That one, it's number 30.
Okay. Yeah. No, I already found the website, the channel, and I've already started looking at it. So looking
And I'm
forward to
telling
it.
you, you're going to love all those spaghetti westerns and his archives of ancient film. I mean,
Yep. I get it.
and you know what else, Vic? You know why Elvis's story is important right now? Because everybody thinks that intellectual property doesn't mean squat. And, you know, you have these hackers and you have these people that disrespect information. And this is his information, his proof, his intellectual property. So as this unfolds, you see, this becomes very important because as an artist, even my own intellectual property. I mean, you know what happened to me on CCN. I started talking, and everything I talked about, they grabbed up, tried to whitewash me out of, and tried to take it and run with it, and turned it into a dark thing.
Right.
These are very powerful forces that we're dealing with, and I want the internet to be a safe place.
That may not be a good thing either, you know.
What, a safe internet?
Sure. It may not be a good thing. Because, again, we're getting back to how could you possibly learn, you know, from all these things. You know, I've been watching the internet, and I'm talking, 12 years now since I really started to delve into it and explore all the facets. And, yeah, there's some really grisly shit out there. I mean, I have to admit, you know, no doubt about it. Some of it's even natural. You know, I was watching some lions, you know, killing each other, you know, not too long ago. And boy, it just, you know, it just disturbed me, you know, watching these animals kill each other, you know. And so, you know, and I just say, you know, that's just, it's the way of the world, you know, it's just the way of the world. That doesn't mean that it has to be your world.
Right.
But it's the way of the world. And all I'm saying is we cannot possibly ever want to change the world from its perfect balance as it is now, with the good and the evil and all that, because in the end, we're going to find that we needed the evil in order to learn and grow and expand and go beyond. Not necessarily that it's going to be better, but I would imagine it would be, that we grow to the point where we can just no longer have to see this garbage, you know, and no longer have to experience it. Why? Because we ourselves have grown, and we ourselves have come to a place of harmony within our own selves. And I think that's ultimately where this is all headed. And I think to say, well, you know, we have to straighten out the internet. I'm saying, hey, why should you? I mean, you know, it's gonna be just people out there doing their thing, and as ugly as they could get, it doesn't mean it has to be us, and we can learn from that ugliness and move on.
All right, 2 things before you go night-night.
Yep.
First off, when the egg gets cracked, the internet falls away, and we do all this without no machinery.
That's right.
That's
I
right.
understand. I understand. That's the SIN, S-I-N, the Sovereign Integral Network.
That's right. So,
and that's already in place, you know.
That's exactly right. And so we are in a transition with this. Now, the other thing before we say goodnight.
This aspect of us is in transition, not us. It's just part of us.
Right. But it's like, okay, with hairdressing. If I do a great haircut, if I'm lucky, somebody would go out and tell 3 people. If somebody has a bad experience, they go out and tell 10. And I think that that's why it does need to be safe for seekers to explore phenomena. There needs to be a moral and ethical place that we, as organic human beings, work from. And I believe that time is now. And I don't believe that people have a choice in it.
Well, I think, we all are led by our higher selves into the things that the higher self wants to experience.
Right.
And so, yes, there are going to be those that are going to fall into this deep pit that, their higher self for some reason wants to experience. So, and then on the other hand, because, a lot of people, I think it seems to me that, some people have the mistaken notion that because you reach a higher state of consciousness that everything is going to be hunky-dory and, all this other stuff. Doesn't mean that. It means like, if you reach a higher state of consciousness in terms of smell, for example, you can smell all kinds of wonderful things. But guess what? You're going to smell a lot of crappy things too with it. And the point is, don't allow the crappy things to influence you in the sense that the good is negated, or take it all as something that is good or bad. Just take it as an experience and leave it alone. Leave it at that. It's an experience. It was this and it's that. And then we move to that neutral place, So that's how I see it.
Well, I'm running the full gamut, and this
good for you.
Right. And this experience of being bonded to someone just like I am to you.
Mm-hmm.
This is another person that I love completely.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to feel that love, and I don't want him to ever feel like he's alone again, and I'm his friend.
Was this Elvis?
Yep.
Yeah, I respect that, truly. And if he is who he is, then hey, more power to you. And I appreciate it. You certainly have my love and blessings, and I really hope that things in this arena continue to evolve for you and for Elvis, and he's an amazing soul, and I respect that.
I'm glad. And of course, there are no secrets in the universe, and he already knows and he feels it. So with that, I'll say good night.
All right, my love. You take care of yourself, and we'll be in touch, okay?
All right, Mr. Vic. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. Same to you, my dear.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, let's get back to movie night.
That's not corny at all. You have no idea how I need to hear what you have to say about this. Please, man, just keep on talking. And I did. The Self-Realization Park, which is close to the ocean in Southern California in the Pacific Palisades, was a place that Elvis loved to visit. And the monks that lived there became friends with Elvis. And Elvis would love to just leave the world, walk around the park, enjoy the serenity, and people left him alone. They recognized him, because a lot of people do go there. It's a very special place. Nobody bothers anyone. Elvis would go into the chapel and he would meditate. We would go in the back and speak with some of the monks. They would reveal and explain certain experiences that they would have. We'd walk around the lake. Elvis loved the park. He said, look, how come I haven't had an experience? I want to feel God. I said, well, Elvis, look, it doesn't happen like that. When you want something, you want it now and you expect it. You have to be patient and you have to surrender your ego.
In his latter years, Elvis embarked on a punishing touring schedule, organized by his manager, Colonel Tom Parker.
He didn't like the idea of doing, 2 shows a night, sometimes 3, 7 days a week, and it bothered him. And it festered and festered and festered. It's like when I called him from LA when we were going to do that last tour, I said, you just need to shut it down. I said, fuck the tour. I said, cut it off. Let's just, I said, let's just cancel this tour out. And he said, Lamar, I've got a payroll. Which, when you say that, you go, well, he's right. But at the same time, I told him, I said, listen, you got 2 or 3 guys around here that'll go to Hawaii with you. And I said, we'll hang out and you just, and you can get yourself back together again. He said, let's talk about that after this tour is over. It sounds like a good idea. He didn't make it.
With his records no longer selling, Elvis's only income came from these tours. And being 40 plus, he no longer had a huge following. He was teetering on the brink of financial meltdown. Touring paid the bills for now, but 50% of the income went to Tom Parker. The Colonel, too, was facing bankruptcy.
Colonel Parker probably was one of the most degenerate gamblers I've ever known in my life. In Nevada, they used to say his money's not worth anything. He played roulette and would put chips on every number. He would play craps and bet the horn, the center. One night I was up about, I think I was up $50,000, $60,000. Remember, I was running the crap table crazy, and he came up and took my money and put it on don't pass. No, on pass.
Yeah.
No, don't pass.
You threw seven.
And I threw a 7 and lost it all. One pop. And I wanted to throw up, but I couldn't. And I said, Jesus God, I said, I've worked my butt off. And I said, he said, how much did you start off with? I said, I started off with $2,000. So he counted out $2,000 and gave to me. He said, now you even. Oh my God. But I mean, he was right. I was even. I was
Colonel
even.
gambled in a way.
I only lost $2,000.
We all have our little idiosyncrasies.
That was
his was gambling, and I loved him to death, but he didn't play the game like you have to play it to win. I mean, he would go through with those on roulette, and he would drop 5 or 6 chips there, 2 on that one, 10 or 12 on this one, and that's whatever fell out of his hand.
Yeah,
that's what he do. And when he hit, he didn't really win because he had more bets than what it was.
But he thought he did.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, one night in between shows, this was in '70, and we were at the crap table. And he called me and said, listen, you got to stay with me here. And I said, well, I said, I've got to go upstairs early. He said, no, you stay here. I said, I'll get you up there on time. I said, okay. So in a period of an hour and a half, he lost over $1.25 million.
Come on back and let's play a little house so we can do what we did before. Now we come back, baby.
One night, I walked down to the casino. I just left Elvis. This was after his show. And I noticed there was a large group of people roped off, and they were all in front of a table watching someone gamble. And as I walked up, it was Colonel Parker by himself at the table with stacks of chips. And he was playing the sucker's game of all games. It's called the Wheel of Fortune. And the odds of winning that game are the worst. It's better if you play craps or blackjack. At any rate, he's at the table and he spots me in the crowd. Larry, he said, come on, come here, sit next to me. He said, I'm not doing too well. I need some luck. Give me some good thoughts, Larry. I said, okay, Colonel, and I felt so uncomfortable. I really did. After about 5-10 minutes, I said, Colonel, maybe you'll do better now. I hope you will, but I have to get back upstairs. Elvis needs me. I told him I was just going to walk down for a few minutes. So I left. The Colonel was there for hours upon hours upon hours until like 5 o'clock in the morning, and he lost $1.5 million that night.
As Elvis prepared for his last tour that would start in Portland, Maine on August the 17th, it was clear that he had no choice but to perform if he were to remain solvent. And for Tom Parker, it was essential that his gambling losses were covered. Elvis had turned into the Colonel's own cash cow.
We were on tour in Louisville, Kentucky. And this was about 4 months before Elvis passed away. And Elvis, the night before, had a very difficult time. He felt he had a fever. He felt nauseous. He felt flu-like. He couldn't sleep. He had a very, very difficult night. It was late afternoon, and Dr. Nick was Elvis's doctor, who traveled with us, was in the bedroom with Elvis. I was in the front room. The television was on, and there was a pounding on the door, which was very unusual because we owned that floor. No one was allowed there. We had security cops positioned in front of the elevators. Everything was blocked off. So who would knock on the door like that? So I immediately walked over to the door, looked through the peephole, and there's Colonel Parker, who never came to visit Elvis on tour. I opened the door. I said, Colonel. He said, where is he? I said, well, he's in the bedroom. Let me tell him you're here. He said, no, I'm going right in. So he, with his cane, he walked past me. He opened the door,
And this is what I saw. Dr. Nick was holding Elvis's head. Elvis is in the bed, semi-conscious, almost comatose. And he was moaning. He was in such bad shape. And Dr. Nick was dunking Elvis's head into a bucket of ice water to revive him. The door closed. And I thought immediately, okay, this is good. This is good. Now the old man, Parker, is going to see what's going on here. He's going to see how bad, the bad shape Elvis is in. And he's going to do something about it. I mean, he can't allow this to go on. It's inhuman. 90 seconds later, door opened up. Colonel Parker walks up to me and stands and I get up. We stand toe to toe, and he stares coldly into my eyes. He says, "Now you listen to me. The only thing that's important is that that man is on stage tonight. Nothing else matters. Nothing."
There's a lot of them. I can't think of any right out here. If I'd like to live up to my reputation of being a nice guy, this is it, folks.
While committed to a hectic touring schedule at the behest of the Colonel, and with mounting financial and physical problems, Elvis and his mafia had become more and more isolated from the real world.
Well, I knew over the years, Elvis was very isolated from the outside world. We didn't know what was going on in the outside. We very seldom read the paper. We watched a lot of sports, a lot of TV shows. We didn't hardly watch the news. We were very, very much hidden from everything going on in the outside.
We lived in an insulated world within our own group. And our group, I mean, somebody said that Elvis really never left his bedroom. Well, he didn't. Elvis would get on his airplane bedroom and go to a hotel bedroom and would go from a hotel bedroom to his Graceland bedroom.
Elvis, over the years, every once in a while, he'd get like that. He'd go to his upstairs and he might spend a week or two and not even show his face. But that was only like a week or two. Now we're talking about months, you know.
10 p.m., August the 15th, 1977. The guys were assembling in Memphis for what would prove to be one tour too far. By the mid-70s, Elvis's drug habit had become a serious threat to his life.
In 1975, what I had been seeing a little bit of the previous year or so was getting worse. And I was very concerned about his health. It wasn't like it had been before when he was taking the uppers and the sleeping pills. When he started experimenting with the, the down stuff, that's when we started getting concerned, all of us, not just me. The down stuff is like Demerol and things like that, pain medication that brings you and lets you down and you kind of just float, Dilaudid is like a synthetic and it's 5 times more powerful than pure morphine, mostly given for cancer patients, terminally ill cancer that just couldn't handle the pain. But see, in his mind were not illegal drugs. These were prescription drugs. Now, the doctor's writing for him, he's abusing them, but they're not illegal drugs in his mind.
I got a call from Elvis saying, "Jerry, can you help me?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, I'm on the floor, I can't get up. And I said, "Who's there?" And he said, "Nobody." So I ran downstairs. I don't know what car I got into, whatever. Went to the doctor's house, and sure enough, Elvis was there. This was a proud man. And, he was even proud around us. And this broke my heart. And he was on the floor. So we picked him up, put him in bed. His legs really just wasn't working. I was hurt, I was angry, and I waited downstairs for the doctor to come in. And I said, "What the hell is going on?" He said, "What are you talking about?" And I told him what I'd just gone through. And he said, "Well, this liquid diet, and we're not giving him any drugs, we're just giving him placebos." And I threatened the doctor. I said, if I ever see this man in this shape again, I will go all the way. I go upstairs and Elvis is on a stationary bicycle. I mean, he's going full speed. She probably hadn't been out of the bed in about 4 weeks, right? And Charlie doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know about my meeting with the doctor and everything. And damn it, Charlie, when you get your medical degree, you can start telling the doctors how to treat me. And he was furious.
Elvis took drugs because he liked them. There was everybody thinks that there's some sort of supercilious situation where he would develop this thing of trying to escape anything. He just fucking loved them. He loved drugs. I mean, I'm talking when he would sit and say, and I'd sit down and I said, Elvis, you don't need to take all this shit. He said, I need it. When a person has that mentality, there is no way you can stop. They're going to do it, and that's the end of it. It's like I said, I need a drink. You say, no, you don't. I need it. You can't. You're done.
None of the guys were in any doubt. The drugs and ensuing health problems had changed Elvis both mentally and physically. Elvis had not been in good health for some time, and many of his physical problems were caused by his diet. Elvis had eaten typical Southern cooking all his life, mostly fried and deep-fried and refried dishes, a diet certainly not conducive to good health.
He would eat crisp bacon, sliced tomatoes, mashed potatoes and gravy, and sauerkraut, believe it or not, and mix it all together and eat it, and loved it. And Elvis would eat stuff till he got tired of it, and then he wouldn't eat it anymore. So he got off of it. The last year of Elvis's life, he went back to eating mashed potatoes, sauerkraut, sliced bacon, sliced tomatoes. Bacon, sliced tomatoes, very crisp. And I said, you know what you're doing here? What do you mean? I said, you're back. It's why you used to eat in 57. He said, I never thought about that.
Elvis had a lot of physical problems that were really eating away at him. He had glaucoma. He had hypertension. Do you know that every night after a show, his blood pressure would shoot up to 180, 200 every night? That's a tremendous strain on the heart. Elvis had a spastic, twisted colon. I can't tell you the problems that plagued him because of it. He also had his blood sugar that was a little too high. His body would start to get bruises on his leg. One night we were on tour, he tripped and fell down the stairs at the back of the stage, twisted his ankle. And he had a very difficult time after that, moving on stage.
Midnight, August the 15th, 1977. Waiting for the tour to commence, the guys knew Elvis was unhealthy, but they still believed nothing could touch or hurt him.
August 15, 1977, I flew in from Los Angeles, getting ready to do a tour. That next day, we were supposed to leave for Portland, Maine. And we were sitting around the kitchen talking, and Elvis was upstairs with Ginger Alden, his girlfriend at the time, and Billy Smith was there and his wife, and they leave. We just ate dinner, the guys, a couple guys sitting around talking about tomorrow, what we got to do. I call upstairs. I say, Elvis, I'm here. Anything you need, anything I should know about, anything you need for tomorrow? And he was fine. Seemed very well. 3 or 4 o'clock, I don't remember exactly what time it was, but he called out at the house and he said, would you and Joe come out and me, you and Joe and Ginger go down to the racquetball? I said, sure. So we met there about somewhere around 4:30, I guess. And it was Joe and Ginger, and then Elvis and Ginger, and then me and Joe, and then me and Elvis. And then time it got to me and Elvis, well, it done got down to silliness. It was no longer a racquetball game. Even though we were getting exercise, we were trying desperately to see who can nail the other one with the ball, And then he finally swung so hard he missed, and he hit himself on his shin. And that ended the game right there. He went complaining about it hurting. So I raised his pants leg up there, and I looked at it, and I said, it's not bleeding. I said, it can't be hurting. Then he got into a kind of a melancholy mood. He went to the piano, and he was playing different songs for Ginger and us.
And then that lasted maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Lost in his music, it was as if Elvis was 21 again.
Live near or far away, I'm always longing for the day, my darling, you are home to stay. I'd be lost without your love.
And then we went back to Graceland. I went upstairs and I washed and dried his hair for him. And we talked in the bathroom. He even told me, he said, man, he said, I'm going to try to make this the best tour ever, And he said, I'm going to try to go to sleep. I said, okay. I said, you need me, I'll be at the house, And I assumed he was going to bed. His mood swings were more frequent. Elvis Presley was always an upbeat person. He really was. And I guess that's one of the things more that made you, like to be a part of that, because he was. And then to see him have these mood swings, more frequent, and it was scary, it really was. And I didn't like it. To be honest with you, I just didn't like it at all.
I would say that Elvis started slipping after he accomplished that feat of the 1.5 billion people watching him live from around the world on that satellite show. From that point on, I would say it was just a slowly slide. No up and down, just slowly slide.
I tried not to let his moods a lot of times affect my moods. If I did, we were both in the pits of hell at that time, literally. And so therefore, when I thought he was down, I was going to try to be up. And when he was up, I was automatically up. I mean, I was in tune to him. But it was difficult. It was hard, And you want to just say, God, man, come on. It's not too late, Get a grip in your life, and get away from the drugs, Don't use them. You don't have to. And take a little time off. Nothing's that impressive. You don't owe anybody anything. If you get rid of me tomorrow, and I told him, man, I meant it from the bottom of my heart. If you get rid of all these guys, they will understand. And if they don't, they were not your friends to start with. But take some time off. And he'd just look at me and say, I can't. I owe too much to too many people.
We lived a wild and fast life in those matter of years that he was on Earth. So, like that song, he did it his way. I'm not giving the song any credit, but I wish he would have changed and did it our way, but he did it his way. And we could talk to him at times. He'd sit and agree. He'd say, yeah, I'm going to change my life. Yeah, I'm not ready. I'll do it when I'm ready to do it. And we all had that hope, because the last vacation in March of 1977, we all went to Hawaii. We had a great time. He was in a great mood. He was out there on the beach having a good time. He was overweight at the time, but he was smiling. We thought, hey, this is a good chance. He did clean his act up for about 30 days or more. But then all of a sudden, boom, right back again.
At Graceland, Elvis now faced the grind and rigors of yet more performances, with the backup of his friends. None of them were happy. Elvis's decline had accelerated.
When I see him on stage performing in the manner that he started performing there at the end, where he wanted to do the best show he could, but with what he was, where he was at, he was really burning, and the light was getting dimmer.
I must say, this is painful for me, that when Elvis came on stage, he gave such whoever has not seen Elvis live has missed the greatest entertainer of the 20th century, the greatest star of the 20th century. But when I saw him, my heart sank, because I knew that something was wrong. I could see it in his eyes, I saw it in his face,
said, he can't last like this another 5 years. We were all very frustrated. But we all could do, only we could do is that. We can't, he's 42 years old. You can't force this man to do anything. You know, people say, why did you guys have him committed? How could I have him committed? He's 42 years old. I can't have him committed. His father couldn't have him committed. You know, you can't prove he's crazy. Your hands are tied. Your hands are tied.
I didn't lay back in the later years. That last year and a half, I didn't lay back. I said what I wanted to say. The hell of it is, after all, I look back on it, it didn't do any good, you know, and that's what hurts more than anything.
6 a.m., the 16th of August, 1977. Elvis was restless. He told Ginger he was going to read in the bathroom. 2 p.m., the 16th of August, 1977. Ginger went to the bathroom to check if Elvis was okay.
Got up the next day, came to the house about 12 noon, this is the 16th, and about 2 o'clock, the phone rings, intercom, and one of the maids picks up the phone, and it's Ginger. She says, come upstairs, I need help. I was fainted. So I ran upstairs. I go into the bathroom, and Elvis fell over. He was laying on the floor. I turned him over, and I knew he was dead. Just knew it. But I was hoping he wasn't. I picked up the phone, called the operator, didn't have 911 at that time, and said, we need an ambulance here at Elvis Presley's house. And I didn't tell him who it was. And meanwhile, I couldn't do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation because Elvis' mouth was closed shut. There was no way possible. There's rumors I did that, but somebody made that story up. I was trying to massage his heart as well as I could, and it just seemed forever. People were all coming up there, and it was pandemonium. The ambulance finally showed up, and it seemed forever, and I found out later it was like 20 minutes before they got there. We got him into the ambulance. Stretcher came, got him down the ambulance. I jumped in the back of the ambulance all the way to the hospital, we're talking to him, and we get to the hospital real quick, the Baptist hospital. Got there, and they rushed him into the emergency room. I'll tell you, it was tough. And 30 minutes later, about 30 minutes, I would think, doctor came into the room, and he said, Elvis has left. Elvis is gone. And we all broke down, and we all hugged each other. And, it was, very emotional time, naturally.
All right. So here we are. Life, death, and rebirth. And all the time you have to realize that this is what Elvis had to do in order to stay alive and to carry on his great work. Now, this is going to be a tough series that I bring forward. And of course, the biggest thing in the forefront of my mind is that I hope I represent Elvis in a way that he approves of. I do take this very seriously. Not so much because I've always been a fan, but because he's allowing the world now to get to know him on an up-close, personal kind of a way that, I mean, is leaps and bounds over what I came online to do, which was journal my experiences. We have this similar path that we're walking now. And it's interesting here again, I think about when he, uploads a video and I see it coincides the current time or even going back to when I came online, which was September 1st, 2014. So we see these parallel paths. And of course, I'm very empathetic. I can feel his pain, and he's very empathetic, and he can feel mine. So here again, my whole purpose of doing this is to stand strong with him and say to people, come on, look, this is the real thing right in front of your eyes. What are you going to do about it? And where do we go from here? So, you know, we see now, and we've seen it a million times, these doctors that push this medicine to get to people to perform or do what they want to do. And we've talked about, and most people do just look at energetic currency as being, you know, the almighty dollar, the cash. But also, of course, what they were doing was vampiring off of his energy and his immense love and his talent. We can't really have that anymore in the world these days, if you ask me, if we're going to survive as a human race. And I have been so impressed with, like I said, the men, especially, that are standing up for us right now. And I'm so proud to know Elvis is one of them. I mean, what a dream come true. I'm just awestruck. Now, I used to say something to people a long time ago because, you know, we've all done bad things. And of course, when I quit eating meat and I quit drinking alcohol, people thought I actually went crazy. They were like, you know, what's wrong with you, Suze? Why would you stop this? And I was like, well, why would you judge me if I'm eliminating poisons the best I can? So during these times, I don't know, and maybe Elvis find this funny, but I used to say that if I ever quit cussing or I quit smoking, you better look up because Jesus' Bigfoot is coming down. Maybe I'll quit smoking. Maybe I'll quit cussing, right? Or maybe we'll just be transformed in the blink of an eye. My friend Vic that was on earlier, we're telepathic friends also through Facebook. This group of people that came together that didn't know one another. And when I came online, a lot of people mocked me for accepting friendship from people that I didn't know in real life. But these are the people that I'm most connected to through my heart brain, through this phenomena that's going on, like I say. So here again, I do want to say that if this is something that I should not have done, I apologize, and I will take whatever retribution there is to be had. But I hope that I've done the right thing, and I want to continue to keep doing the right thing and to bring this dear man's story forward. There was a comment I had seen, and like I said, I got like a little schoolgirl. I thought I had my order. I thought I knew which way I'd present it, and all of a sudden I realized that I was scribing for the King of Kings. And I just, you know, I guess I acted like a little girl or something, or got scared or nervous. So I apologize for that. I think it's the coolest thing in the world here again to see that in that day there were holistic hairdressers that actually talked about more than sex, politics, and religion. And Larry was Elvis's spiritual advisor. And for those of you that know me, I mean, behind the chair for over 30 years, this is what I've been sharing with my clients. So I want to go ahead and tell you before I break for this evening what the response of my clientele was as I broke this story with them and shared my, you know, iPhone and the Elvis NeverEnding Story playlist, right? So the first client, she's a little older than me, let's say about 8 years up. I'm 53. And she, current day, works for the government and does audits in real estate and things like this. And we've had our discussions, but she still continues to carry on there, and that's fine. She has been affected by military programs. She was married into the military. She had a very hard life and an ongoing struggle during times. But when I turned her on to this, and I was showing her, she says, "Where exactly are they?" And I said, "It's a secret." He doesn't want to disclose yet. And she says, "Well, I surely thought you would know more than I do about it." And I said, "I do. I'm the one that the channel came to, and I didn't go looking for it." This is synchronicity. See, it's what you focus on and what your real purpose is, and sometimes you don't know it. And then from there, you have to see if you're on the right track. And I'm telling you, the SKMI YouTube channel is true. This is Elvis's channel. And I will stake my reputation, whatever I have of it or don't have of it. You know, everybody sees it different. But I do stand with this, and I'm really proud to be here. One more thing. If I ever did have the honor of meeting Elvis Presley in real life, as a holistic stylist, I would talk to him about his blood type, which is majorly important. I'd talk to him about homeopathy and easy ways to reduce inflammation. I would also put my love into a castor oil pack and place it on his liver and give him a detox. So if I can ever do anything for you, Elvis, I'm here. And it would be such an honor. Last things last, we cut off tonight where the place Elvis bows out, where he fakes his own death, and that's at the age of 42. That would be the angel years. And of course, the crisis years are from 33 to 40. So think about when you imagine somebody's rich and they have it all. But then here's some parasite, I mean, spending their money faster than they can make it and then pushing them to the brink of exhaustion. That's pretty tough. So he went through his crisis years and made this decision. And tomorrow, if I have the courage, which I will, I'll come back with some more information and talk a little bit more about it. No matter what you do believe or you don't believe this. Listen to his voice and look at his sweet face and allow him to claim his identity without being mocked. I should really show you that video. It's pretty funny. Like I said, this was so tough today. Oh, I just didn't know if I was going to make it through. I think I'll save it for tomorrow and not make an ass of myself, right? All right. So, it's been an honor. Please go subscribe to SKMI. The name of the channel is Skutnik Michael. And when you see a young face there, that's his son. To have a father like you, Elvis, that would take care of all of his babies and love them. That's what all the children of the kingdom need. So with that, praise God. And peace, love, and light from the big yellow house on the third cosmic ray. Come see me at my YouTube channel too if you want. Suze Pratt on YouTube. Good night, friends, and thank you.